All right, gang. Good morning. Good morning, Russ or Dylan, whoever's running the music. Thank you so much for doing that. Appreciate it. It's good to be here with you all this morning. You are starting the week off the right way, definitely, by being here, participating in Morning Ascent. So, man, I hope you do this every single morning. I was thinking about just success in general, and thinking about the way the market is right now, and how it is a very challenging market. Even though people are buying and selling real estate, the fact that there is low inventory, it makes it a very difficult market. As real estate sales professionals, you've never had to work harder for the commissions that you earn than you do right now, in my opinion. Because you take a look at whether you're working with a buyer or a seller, the amount of effort that it takes to get a home under contract. Because if you're working with buyers, of course, you're writing a lot of offers, showing a lot of homes, and in many instances, not getting the home under contract. Or if you're working with sellers, filling the number of offers that you have to fill, right? I mean, going over those offers and determining which ones to present to your sellers, and then going through all of those, and then responding to all the people who submit it. I mean, there's a lot of work that's involved. And yet, it just seems like there's not enough real estate to be sold. And then you, on top of that, you take everything that's going on in the world politically, and you take a look at what's going on in your own personal life. You add all of that up, and it can be overwhelming. And it's easy to get down and to say, well, gosh, I don't even know that any of this is going to work. I talk to a lot of agents, I coach a lot of agents, and one of the consistent themes is this attitude that that it may not work out, that it's for whatever reason it doesn't work for them. And I find it so interesting that as human beings that we can take ourselves to those sorts of places, despite the examples that are out there, that if you'll do the right thing and you'll be consistent at it, that things will work out over time. Maybe not immediately, but over time. And I think some of the best examples of success, I think that when I say best examples in terms of just their pure raw authenticity and the hope that they give you, I think those are some of the most inspirational ones. And I could talk about stories of people who, maybe they were runners or mountain climbers or inventors, Disney or Oprah Winfrey and her struggles and how she's come out on top. And all of those things are great. But, let's just talk about a few people that are within our industry who have been great examples of the success that you can achieve, and success that you can achieve not by being experienced or being in the business for a long time. I like to look at examples of rookies, those who are brand new in the business, who do what most people would say is impossible, not only as a rookie, but also as an experienced agent. And I was thinking about, I thought, well, whose stories would be interesting to tell? And there were three that came to mind. And I just very quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but I want to use these examples, these stories, as evidence of the fact that if you have a few characteristics about you, that you can be successful. And we're going to talk about those characteristics in a minute. I'm not going to give those to you yet. I just want to share these stories with you. The first story is Joe Villascusa. Joe's a very good friend of mine in Georgia's. He's a broker and owner, been in the real estate business since the mid 80s. I interviewed him last year. Many of you may remember on Morning Ascent on a Monday morning, just like this. But we interviewed him, and he shared his story about his rookie year, of what real estate looked like for him in his very first year. Had never had any previous sales experience, didn't come from a family where his dad was a real estate agent, so there was no connection there. And yet, Joe, in his first year, closed on 99 homes as a rookie, 99 homes, and made $325,000. And I believe, if I'm getting this correctly, if my memory serves me correctly, it was 1986. Now, look, gang, you could explain it away and say, well, that was over 30 years ago. Well, I was alive then, and what it took to be successful in real estate is the same thing that it takes today to be successful. And you think about that, being a rookie in this business and being able to sell 99 homes and make over $300,000. $300,000 is a lot of money today. Imagine doing that over 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Crazy. It reminds me of another story of a gal by the name of Brianne Llewellyn. This gal has a very interesting story. She was in high school when she got her real estate license. I believe she still had about 4 months left in high school as she started her career in real estate. And what is interesting is in that first year of real estate, the first 12 months, 4 of those months she was still in high school. She sold a total of 66 homes and made nearly $250,000. Now think about that. She was 18, and then when she finished the year, those first 12 months, she then eventually turned 19 years old. Now imagine that. If an 18, 19-year-old who's still in high school for part of that year can sell 66 homes and make nearly $250,000, couldn't you? There's another great example, an example within the Everest family. Heidi Castaigne. I remember when Heidi came to me, gosh, this was probably 8 years ago, maybe 9. I guess probably 9, could be 10 years ago. She came to me brand new in the business, had never had any previous sales experience. She had worked with Nordstrom, I believe, as a buyer for about 15 years. And she was making a career change. And she was excited about it. But she came to me and she said, I have no clue what it takes to be successful in real estate. She said, but the thing about me is that if you will tell me what to do, I will do it. And I remember saying to her, I said, Heidi, I've had a lot of people tell me that over the years, that if you'll just tell me what to do, I'll do it. And as long as, if you'll tell me the right thing to do and it will make me successful, I will do it. And I said to her, I've heard a lot of people tell that to me, but very few will actually do it. She said, well, I promise you I will. And I said, well, here's the good news. If you will just to 80% of the time do what I suggest that you should be doing, you'll achieve 100% of your goals. Well, the cool thing is that in that first year of her career in the business, Heidi closed, I believe, it was 36 transactions. I know it was in the mid 30s. She closed on around 36 transactions and made nearly $250,000. It was so cool. And it was so cool because, one, she was able to achieve her goal, but it was interesting to watch someone who had never had any previous experience in the business of real estate achieve to that level. And this was when she got into the business, gang. I want to remind you that 10 years ago, we were in the throes of that economic downturn that was caused by the collapse of the mortgage market and the real estate markets. So she was starting her career in what I believe was the most difficult market to start your career in since the Great Depression. And yet she had that sort of success. So the question that I have for you is, could you have done that? Could you have done that in your rookie year? Here's a better question. Could you have a year like that, like any of those years, that any of those 3 that I just, told stories about? Could you have years like that now, or double that, or triple that, or quadruple that? And then my question is, what would it take in order to do that, in order to have that sort of year? Because, gang, here's what I know. Look, you're not going to convince me. I've been in real estate nearly 30 years. I've seen some very, very good markets, and I have seen the worst markets since real estate was invented. So you can't convince me that you can't have years like they have had, or even better, double, triple, or quadruple. You're not going to be able to convince me, because I've seen it too much. I've seen too many people with the odds against them, with all sorts of challenges, come out on top. So the real question is, well, what would it take? Would it take skill? And my response to that is no, it wouldn't take skill. And so many of you, gang, let me confront you here. So many of you are trying to get ready so that when you're ready, you'll be ready. And you know what I'm talking about? It's called procrastination. You got to get everything in order. You got to get your marketing materials in order. You got to get your cards and your signs. You got to figure out this system and that system. You got to work on your scripts. You got to perfect those. And I really don't want to make the calls until I know exactly how to say it, because I don't want to embarrass myself and I don't want to be rejected. Whatever story you're telling yourself that's preventing you from getting engaged now. See, because it's not about the skill. Because you can't tell me that a Joe Villascusa or a Brianne Llewellyn or a Heidi Castaigne who now makes, I don't know exactly, but I know that Heidi is well north of $500,000 annually and has done that for many, many years. You can't tell me when she started her career it was about skill, because it wasn't. It wasn't. It's, you don't need the skill to be successful in real estate. That's the crazy thing. You don't. Do skills help? And of course, the answer is yes. Should you have skills? And of course, the answer is yes. Should you improve those skills? And the answer, of course, is what? Yes, you should. But foundationally, that is not the most important thing, your skill set. It's not. The most important thing is this, and I want you to write this down. It's really important. I want you to write down these three words: belief, faith, and consistency. Write those three words down: belief, faith, and consistency. Belief, faith, and consistency. You know, it's said that the truth shall set you free. That's the truth. That if you will believe, if you will have faith, if you will be consistent, I promise you, you can have a year like those rookie years of a Jovi Escusa, a Brianne Llewellyn, or a Heidi Chastain. And here's the cool news. If you're listening and you're not a rookie, if you've got a year or more under your belt, you're not a rookie. If they can do it, so can you. But it takes belief. It takes faith. You know, it reminds me of a story of, his name is Stuart Anderson. Stuart Anderson was a professional football player in the National Football League. He was a great athlete. And before he became a great athlete in the NFL, he had a great career in high school basketball. And it was in his senior year, it was the final game in the championship. And Stuart was the star player on the team. I mean, if you wanted to win, you gave Stuart the ball, right? But in this game, Stuart had missed, I recall, I think it was 15 consecutive shots. He had missed 15 consecutive shots, and his team was down by a point. And it was the final possession in the game, and they had a chance to win. And the coach had called a timeout, which was prudent, the right thing to do. They were in the team huddle, and the coach was drawing up the play. And as he started to drop the play and explain to his players the play that they were going to run, it became evident to Stuart that the coach was not going to give Stuart the ball, was not going to give the star player the ball. And Stuart looked at the coach and said, "Coach, I want the ball." And the coach looked at him and said, "Stuart, you've missed 15 shots this game consecutively. We're down. We need to make this basket." The coach had drawn up a play where he was going to give it to a rookie, but who had done very well in the game, had made several of his shots. It was kind of like the surprise of the game. You know, he's kind of picking up the slack where Stuart, had left off. And the coach said, "No, we're going to give it to," I don't remember the player's name, "we're going to give it to Joe." And Joe kind of looked at the coach like, "What? You're going to give me the ball?" And he said, "Look, if Stuart wants the ball, let Stuart have the ball." And the coach looked at the rookie, and then he looked over at Stuart, and Stuart said, "No, coach, I want the ball. I'm going to make the basket." And the coach, against his better judgment, drew up a play where Stuart was going to get the ball. And so the game started. They inbounded the ball. Stuart got the ball, and he made the basket. Well, he was asked many times, of course, about that whole experience. Why, how, what was going on in your mind? And his point was that, look, I had faith that I was going to make the basket. But you could say, well, wait a minute, you missed 15 consecutive shots. Statistically, you would say your chances of making the basket are very low. You've demonstrated that consistently you're going to miss the basket for whatever reason. He's having a bad day. And his attitude was this: no, actually, statistically, if I miss 15 consecutive shots, I'm going to make the next one. That every shot that he took that he missed, he believed, this is really critically important, gang, I want you to listen to this, replace baskets with phone calls or doors being knocked. With every consecutive basket that he missed, he believed that his chances of making the basket went up. See, that was the frame of mind that he had. That's why in the game, he kept throwing up baskets, basket after basket after basket, and missing it, right? Ball after ball, rather, and missing the basket. But then he didn't stop, because, see, he believed that every time he did it and missed, his chances making went up. Whereas with the coach and others looking and saying, no, you've missed 15 consecutive. I don't want to give you the ball. What is so interesting is it was the belief that he could make it, that his chances were going up with each consecutive miss, that actually was the reason that he made the basket, because he had belief. He had faith that it was going to work out. And he also had consistency, because he wasn't afraid to keep doing what he knew he would ultimately have to do in order to make a basket. See, gang, you can't make a basket if you don't have the ball and throw it up in the air towards the basket. The same is true in real estate. You can't set an appointment. You can't take a listing if you don't have the ball in your hand. And the ball in your hand, metaphorically speaking, is you going out the phone, that's the ball, right? Or something in hand, something of value, and going out and knocking on doors. You can't. You have to have the belief. You have to have the faith. You have to have the consistency. Belief. See, and if you can't have belief in yourself, or sometimes it is difficult to have belief in yourself or faith in yourself, then at least have it in the system. See, that's the great thing about real estate, and especially about real estate within the Everest family. I mean, we create an environment, we work to help you believe in yourself. But man, if you find times when you can't believe in yourself, which I think you should, but if you can't, then lean on the system, because we have a system that works. Heidi Castaigne proved it and proves it. Other great agents in our company prove it. Many of you on this call consistently prove it year after year after year. See, and the thing is, it's not a mystery, but we have to have faith in the system. We have to leverage it. We have to rely upon it. You know, it's like being in a race car. I don't know if you've ever been in a race car. I've had the opportunity to be in one. I've been in a Lamborghini, a Ferrari. I've been in a Porsche. I've been in a Jaguar. Cars that have 5, 6, 7, 800 horsepower, and get on the track and go around that fast track at unbelievably crazy speeds on technical tracks. I've done it. And the thing that you will be coached on by the professional driver who does it with you will be this: you have to rely on the vehicle, the car, and have faith that it will perform. What is interesting is that your car, my car that we drive, this is the average run-a-day car, they're much more capable than you actually know. In most cases, the ability of the car exceeds your technical skill or knowledge about operating the car. And I've observed that as I've been out on a fast track with professional drivers, where you get into a Lamborghini, for example, and I'm afraid at taking a turn at high speeds because I'm afraid the car can't handle it and we're going to skid off the road. And then I watch the professional driver do it, and he demonstrates that if you have the skill, right, and you lean into the system will perform, the car will perform. It will exceed your expectations. Well, I'm telling you, gang, you have a Lamborghini. It's called the Everest Sales System. It's called the scripts that we provide. It's called the business plan that we provide. It's called the outline that we provide in terms of what your job is: to prospect, to set appointments, and to follow up and set appointments. It's to on a daily basis to present to people, right? It's prospect and presenting and setting appointments. I mean, it's a pretty simple system, but you have to lean into it. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be the professional who understands the system entirely, but just have faith in it. And if you'll put pressure on the system can handle it. Meaning, in other words, leverage the system. Formulas that are proven will work for anyone. It's not a question of whether the formula will work. It's a question of whether you will work. You have to leverage the formula or the system. So I want you to write this down. Not getting the results that I want. Write it down. Not getting the results that I want isn't failure. Not getting the results that I want isn't failure. Unless I quit. So not getting the results I want isn't failure unless I quit before I achieve what I want. See, I think that there is no failure as long as you're attempting to move forward. Failure only occurs when you quit, when you decide that didn't work. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to move on. I'll tell you just a very quick story here. And we're going to wrap this up. Gosh, it was probably about 9 years ago. My son Jack was in Cub Scouts, and in my day we did the Pinewood Derby. Well, in his day, they did the Lego Derby. You would make a car, and then you would use a balloon for propulsion. And so all the boys made their Lego car, and I'm presuming like Jack and I did. They did it with their dad or their mom, and they would work to design the car and build it. Well, Jack and I did that, and our testing track was the kitchen floor, a tile floor. And man, we put it together, modified it multiple times, testing it, seeing how it would perform, and trying to get it to perform as best as we could because we wanted to win, right? We're in it for the win. And every time that we tried it at home, it performed beautifully. And we just knew that we were either going to win or we'd be in the top 3, but we knew that we were going to place. So there we were at the Lego Derby. And Jack was excited, watching the other boys and watching their cars perform. And he just knew, man, mine's going to be better. We're going to win. We both had faith, right? And he put the car on the track, blew up the balloon, placed it how he had to, the way it was set up so that, it would propel the car down the track. He let go of the clamp on the balloon so that the air would be expelled out of the balloon. It would force the car to go down the track. Well, it was exciting because it started to make the noise that a balloon makes when air is being expelled out of it. And it got louder and louder, and the car didn't go anywhere. And he looked at me in disbelief, and I looked at him like, I don't know what happened. So he looked at the judge like, well, what do we do? And the judge looked at him and said, go ahead, try it again. So we tried it again. Same result. Now Jack's starting to freak out. And the judge is looking at him like, well, I gave you a chance. And Jack's looking at him like, no, I need another chance. Well, the judge looked at him like, gave him a nod. So he tried it again. And this time, as much noise as it did before, it went down the track about a foot, maybe a foot and a half, and then just fizzled out again. And at that point, Jack had had enough. He grabbed his little derby, his little car, and with tears in his eyes, ran off down the hallway by himself into a dark corner. And I could hear him just back there, just sobbing, just absolutely distraught. He was so upset. And of course, I was disappointed for him because, we had high hopes. He thought that he was going to win or at least place, and he didn't even place. And I went back there and I saw him kind of curled up in a corner, very dejected, just bawling, just sobbing. And I said, buddy, what's wrong? What's going on? And he said, I'm a loser, through his tears. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I lost. My stupid car wouldn't win. And I said, buddy, is that what you think? Because your car didn't win? It didn't place, that you're a loser? And he said, yes. And he looked at me with this defiance, like he was angry. And I said, really? I said, buddy, here's the thing that I want you to remember. I said, the issue isn't whether your car won. See, your car winning doesn't make you a winner. Your car losing doesn't make you a loser. The thing that will make you a winner is that despite the resistance, despite what happens when you try, when it doesn't work out the way you expect it, that you simply show up and you do it again. And if it doesn't work out, you do it again, and you do it again and again. Because failure is quitting. Failure is not trying something and not working out. And there are people who have accomplished significant financial wealth, but who have also accomplished some very significant things in life that we would look at and say, yeah, they've had a great impact, who exemplify that. Gang, do you realize that Thomas Edison invented over 1,000 versions of the light bulb before he found one that worked? You realize that Colonel Sanders pitched his recipe and his idea 1,009 times before he found somebody who was willing to believe in his formula, his recipe, and him. Walt Disney pitched his idea of Disney, the idea of Disney, right, of filmmaking, and eventually, what we know as Disneyland and Disney World and everything that Disney has become, to over 300 banks and investors before someone said yes. Success, gang, has very little to do with skill and has everything to do with belief, with faith, and consistency. See, if you will marry faith with persistence, not giving up, being consistent, you'll be successful. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when, which means you'll have to be patient. Yes, success requires patience. As I said to the group last week at the Elevate, I said, remember this, gang, success is not a Happy Meal. You can't just roll up to a window and order it and say, oh, by the way, biggie size it for me. It's going to take time. It's going to take faith. It's going to take belief. It's going to take consistency. Remember this, skill is far less important than faith and consistency. The great equalizer, as proven by the Jovi Escusa of Brianne Llewellyn, or our own quote unquote hometown favorite, Heidi Castaigne, if you will simply be consistent at leveraging the system, regardless of the outcome that you got yesterday, starting today at zero, that if you will, I promise you that over time, everything will fall into place. Because a proven system works for anybody, regardless of who you are. It's not a question of whether the formula will work. It's only a question of whether you will work the formula. All right, gang, let's finish it up with some closing affirmations. It was great to see you this morning. Have a great week. And remember, we do this 5 days a week. So don't just show up one day a week, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.